Bonni, Cohen, Shenk, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So why now, 10 years after the documentary An Inconvenient Truth, why is a sequel needed?
Really what happened now, 10 years later, is the potential for renewable energy, the sustainable energy revolution, as Al calls it, has really come to fruition in a big way.
We're seeing a tremendous amount of positive change.
The cost down curve of solar and wind, the down curve is as dramatic as the up curve in global warming that Al showed in the original movie. So there's a drama going on now between the policy that will move us faster towards those solutions and Mother Nature, which is screaming louder and louder, hey, the storms are more intense, the seas are rising, the ice is melting, it's actually worse than we thought it would be at this point. It's a real drama.
You show a lot of that in your documentary. Who do you think is going to win this race?
Do you mean between Mother Nature and the sustainability revolution? Well, hopefully mankind will get on top of this. I mean, the idea is that, Al Gore often talks about the drama of the sustainability revolution being as intense as the industrial revolution, but it's going to happen, hopefully, with the speed of the digital revolution. So with the cost down curves where they are, more and more countries can get on board and start to implement. The question is just how quickly can we do it. So it's actually a fairly hopeful film, all told. Like, we spend time with a Republican mayor in the heart of oil country in Texas who has decided to take his entire community 100% renewable.
Now, so I assume that the reason you did this is that the two of you are just rabid environmentalists.
Well, not exactly, because you're in Georgetown,
right,
which is the reddest city in the reddest county in Texas, and I'm a conservative Republican. Okay. But, our duty to our ratepayers is to provide them with the lowest possible utility cost.
And money talks.
But then doesn't it just make sense from a common sense standpoint? The less stuff you put in the air, the better it is.
So there are some wonderful examples in the film of ways that we're turning the ship around.
And yet there are still so many people who remain to be convinced that climate change poses real dangers, or let alone that it even exists. Why do you think it's been such a hard sell?
Well, going back to the 80s, the fossil fuel industry really felt threatened by the science, the truth of the matter, and they just took a page out of the tobacco industry's playbook and literally hired the same companies to sow these seeds of doubt about the reality of climate change, unfortunately, because in the meantime, our planet is really suffering.
Hurricane Sandy slammed into New York City last night, flooding the World Trade Center site.
But as Mother Nature screams louder and louder, in the last 7 years, I believe, we've had 11 once-in-a-thousand-year storms in this country. The sea level is rising to the point where at high tide now, there's water in the streets of Miami where we followed Al in this film. Regular, everyday Americans are seeing climate change firsthand, so it's harder and harder to deny that it's happening. And on the other hand, jobs in solar and wind are taking shape much faster than other industries. It's several times the rate of job creation in other industries. So it's harder and harder for people who are on the denial side to keep denying what is happening, both with the hopeful sustainable energy revolution and the fact that the climate crisis has really gotten worse.
You liken a lot of the work of Al Gore and the fight against climate change to a social movement. And in this case, is there a bad guy? Is there an oppressor that you're fighting against?
Well, unfortunately, this issue has become a partisan issue.
It's a promise to cancel billions in climate change spending.
Much like with the tobacco industry, fossil fuel companies have done a very convincing number on a lot of our population and sort of forced it into the political realm where now ordinary people are falling down on party lines when it comes to the environment, and we have to recapture that back and take it out of that realm.
India is one of the world's largest consumers of coal, and to make the film you went to India. How do people in India view climate change?
It's very complicated. There's a sense in a lot of developing countries that they are in the middle of their industrial revolution, and the burning of coal is creating jobs, it's creating an economy there that they are entitled to. It happens to be happening 150 years after those of us in the developed world have already done that work and created damage to the environment. So there's a kind of a push-pull conflict with the developed and developing world about who's now responsible. And the Indians, rightly so, I feel, think that it's their turn and they should be allowed to burn coal. But of course, the argument needs to be made that if you can't breathe, it's a little difficult for citizens to live in the country. So it's complicated, and that's why there's a scene in the film where Al Gore is meeting with the environmental minister in India, and they actually talk out this exact conflict that I'm describing, and Al Gore tries to kind of bring them around and make them realize that yes, you are deserving of this. Let's figure out a way to bring you on board and do something for the environment at the same time.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your work and for documenting the work of Al Gore.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.